Genshin Impact is a game I'd been watching the development of since before it even came out. As a Breath of the Wild enjoyer, this similar looking game with anime aesthetics was right up my alley. Even so, once it released and I finally got to play it, I didn't expect it to become such a huge piece of media that I enjoy. I got into the game for some thrills, but I couldn't have guessed that I'd still be playing it 5 years later. I had no idea what I was getting into. I mostly talk about gameplay related topics here, things on a functional level. General gameplay, character designs, business practices, But I don't really talk about the story, the lore, or the universal side of things that often. It did make my list of 8 good things about Genshin, sure, but I'd like to slow it down a bit and properly give a little recognition to the game's universe, especially after the recent trailer. It is absolutely something to think that we've reached this point. The feeling that this gives, it's hard to articulate it, but it's like we're actually here. This is what it was intended to be. This is the game. 5 years of stories and artifact flavor text and books to read in the game and characters talking about the past and all kinds of stuff. This is what it is. Like this is what the game is about. It's really no other way to put it, but like the best way I've really been able to put it is that it feels like up to this point we've been doing a 5-year prologue and now we've arrived at the real game. From day 1, minute 1, second 1, from the very start when we were fighting against that unknown god, we've only had more questions than answers. From Fane's the Primordial One, the Heavenly Principles, to the 4 shades that the Primordial One created, these have always been central background presences that we've known about but have never really interacted with until recently. Renova appearing as her incredibly eldritch and creepy form in the Natlan quest is what I think marks the beginning of the tonal shift of the game. But it had been building a while before that. I believe the true very first shift in the game might have been Skirk's initial appearance, because that was just kind of out of nowhere and it was like, oh, okay. And she was such a different character at that time that people weren't even expecting her to hold one of the normal 7 elements. They just kind of thought she might be something different, like abyssal element or quantum or something. Yeah, that wasn't the case. I mean, we ended up getting Skirk eventually, but she still kind of is what I feel to be the harbinger of this phase 2 of Genshin, if you want to call it that. Either way, whether you believe the harbinger of the new age is Skirk, the Shade of Death's first appearance in the Natlan quest, or some completely different marker in time, I think what we can all agree on is that this trailer certainly marks beginning the new phase. The combination of Naberius, the Shade of Life, and Rhine-Daughter. The Shade of Time, Istaroth, the first shade we ever learned the name of. Renova, Shade of Death, who we met in Natlan but never got to see in the flesh. And Asmodee, Shade of Space, that goes all the way back to the beginning of the game, Unknown God, the very first confrontation we ever had in the game, and what set everything in motion from that point on. The Shades are appropriately named in my opinion, because they've been in the shadows, they've been in the shade forever. The fact that they're coming out of the shade though, and we see them, the fact that they're here, that definitely means things are changing. This game is changing. The story is moving in a whole different direction now. This is no longer even about Archons, I would say. It feels like Archons are old news at this point. I mean, I guess it may be sort of about them. I mean, the Saritsa is still in play, but no, we're big leagues now. We're in a whole different realm. And speaking of a whole different realm, that Shade of Space, oh boy. Yeah, that's the one. She's the one that put us through. We're back at the start. And I think it's that makes this moment in Genshin Impact feel so unique, because it's really tying the past to the present. And there's been speculation, sure, even correct speculation, that this would be the Shade of Space, but it's finally nice to have that kind of confirmation. There's no more speculation, that's who she is, and her name is Asmodee. The fact that Asmodee is missing from this meeting of the Shades, though, is an eye-opener, especially considering some of the implications. It suggested that maybe the Shade of Space has switched sides or love their new master more than themselves. Or at least implied implications. If Paimon turns out to be the unknown god for real, the Shade of Space, the one who clapped us at the beginning of the game, which is what people have been saying forever, I'll lose my mind. Oh man, can you imagine? But I mean, the way things are going, that's more than possible. That's actually the most possible thing at the moment, but we shouldn't set ourselves up for red herrings either. We don't know exactly what is meant by loving their new master more than themselves, and so I will be a little careful about going down that route, but I do believe Paimon is somehow connected to the Shade of Space. That much seems clear. Or really, Paimon's connected to all of them in some way. It's something. But we're, yeah. definitely there's some Paimon in that calculation somewhere. It's so weird. Yeah, she's just conspicuously there too at the beginning of the game, being rescued from the water. Sure, that's no accident. Let's be real, especially now that we're putting it all together. Yeah. But there were some other interesting concepts in this trailer too, and one of them was the fact that, even though each of the shades has their own domain or whatever, Renova kind of clapped an entire dimension. So I don't know if that really means that the shades only have dominion over their name, like, shade of death, shade of life, shade of time, shade of space, or is that a general thing? Because from what I saw, Renova, who is the shade of death, kind of destroyed an entire dimension. Unless I'm wrong about that. I don't know though, but I don't know that they're specifically tied to their dominion or not. I don't know if that's the case, because Renova definitely just wiped out a dimension. Not as the shade of space, as the shade of death. So that's interesting. Yeah. But man, it's just so cool to be able to see these characters. We've only heard about them. Well, and we got to see Renova's very eldritch form. And we did get to see the Shade of Space before, but that was at the beginning of the game, and we didn't know exactly who they were. So all around, this is a pretty huge moment. And it's still cool because the Heavenly Principles, the Primordial one, whatever you want to call them, Fames, they're still asleep. They still haven't awakened, I guess is the correct way to put it. I don't know if they're, literally sleep, but they have not awakened. So yeah, that's gonna be something too at some point. Ooh, that's exciting. I also want to see how these shades interact with each other more, and how they, share authorities, I guess. Because, again, it seemed like the Shade of Death used powers that you would typically think would be from the Shade of Space. But I want to see how they interact with one another. Not only that, but there's a bit of irony here in the fact that Rhine-Daughter has fused with Nibirius due to devouring Nibirius. Their heart, I guess. And it's so ironic because Rhine-Daughter, or Gold, is one of the 5 centers of Conria. One of the ones that got the entire nation clapped into first place. So that's something. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Conria fell. not the only reason, but Ryan daughter was practicing the art of chemia, or whatever you want to call it, basically creating life, and they didn't like that, and so that got the watchful eye of the gods, and the nation got collapsed. And now she's one of the shades, or part of one of the shades, or the shades, one of the shades is part of her. I don't know how you would put it, but you know what I'm trying to say. And dude, Piero, dude had the most swag speech I've ever heard. That went so hard, man. It went so hard. And dude was like, what is the price of killing a god? Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. But I do have to wonder. Is that like foreshadowing? Is he actually going to take out one of the gods, or one of the shades? Oh, dude, I can't imagine it. That's just not going to happen. And that is not going to happen. But what would happen if it happened? Like, what is the price of doing that? What if you took out, say, oh, I don't know, the god of the god of space, the shade of space? Do dimensions just collapse? Like, do they control it at that level where the functioning of that domain, be it, space, time, life, or death, where it hinges upon the shade existing? If one of them ceased to exist, what happens? Probably not, but it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. I don't know. I'm just thinking here, but it was so cold, and dude is like, he's seen it before. He's seen the wrath of the gods before, because dude's from Conria, so he ain't afraid. He ain't afraid, dude. He's mad dogging the skies. He is mad dogging. Oh, dude, it's so good. It's so good. Piero dude's tight. He is tight right now, man. Oh, I'm ready to see it, though. I'm ready to see it. And then there's just other cool things going on here, too. We got Columbina. It's a lot of cool stuff coming. Lots of cool stuff coming. And we're entering this new phase. Genshin has changed. It really has. And I don't mean that. I'm not talking about the game, like gameplay right now. I'm just talking about the tonal and narrative shifts in the game. It started to move. We've been waiting so long to get to this point, and now that we're here, I don't know what to expect next. It's almost as if Genshin Impact 2 is starting. That's what it feels like. This is like Genshin Impact 2, although maybe it will wrap up after, Nod-Krai and maybe Snezhnaya. Or maybe we'll actually be going to different worlds at that point, because the way the story started out, Teyvat was kind of, it is what it is. We're here, this is where we are, but it's becoming more and more explicit that there is a universe beyond this. Which, we know that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we move along. Skirk doesn't even come from this planet. Skirk is from somewhere entirely different, from an entirely different place, so, that gives you an idea. Plus, we have space as kind of this primordial element, not one of the 7 elements, but like this concept without reason, just like life, death, and time. So if at some point we can wield space, maybe we can travel through space, I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe Teyvat is not it, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes along. Yeah. And speaking of those concepts as elements, by the way, space and time and life and death. Yeah, I've heard people talking about maybe the shades will be playable one day, and maybe they will. I'm not saying they won't be, but it will be interesting to see what they do with elements if they do that, because the shades do kind of have some connections to the other elements. For instance, Istaroth is strongly connected with wind, so maybe she would be Anemo? But at the same time, that would be really cool if they decided to use that point in time instead to just introduce those elements without reason, time, space, life, death, and bring something completely new to the game. I would prefer that. That would be really cool. Imagine like freezing time or slowing it down or something instead. Man, that would be nice. That would be cool. I don't know what they would do for the others. I mean, a space. I don't know. Teleporting stuff. I don't know. Death. What do you do for death? You just kill things. What do you do for life? You don't resurrect enemies. What do you bring them back as zombies? I don't know. I'm being silly now, but you see my point. If the shades become playable though, I believe they will be attached to particular elements already in the game. Skirk, even though she kind of has this abyssal thing going on, they gave her cryo, even though people thought that Skirk would be different. So, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna go that far outside of the bounds, but yeah, we would have to see. We would see. In any case, Genshin is really changing. And it's really awesome that we're now at this point to where we're getting answers to questions we've had a long time. And if we're not getting answers to those questions, then at least we're coming face to face with those questions. We're gonna end up finding out exactly what Paimon is and her role and everything soon. Like, that's coming, dude. That is coming. That is coming. And I have a feeling, man. I don't know, but like, it's gonna be crazy. Ooh, man. In any case, yeah, Nod-Krai is gonna be cool. I can't wait for that. I'm gonna talk about that stuff when we get in there, and then I might also talk a little more about some more lore and story stuff at that point. I'm not a lore YouTuber. Okay, I'm just being straight up. I'm more about gameplay and stuff, like I said, but I will talk about the story and the lore to the extent that, it's really just affecting the game state. And I believe right now it is affecting the game. It's affecting the whole feel of the game. So it's just too big of a concept not to talk about at the moment. You gotta talk about it. Those are kind of my thoughts on where we're sitting right now. I love where the game is heading. I really do. I have stuck with this game since the beginning. I've been spoon-fed little bits of lore, little bits of, story, lore nuggets here, a little piece of information there. I've tried to put it all together. I've watched videos of much smarter people trying to put it all together. Man, everything from Conria to, the Sillies and Nibelung and everything. I don't know. Rumeria, Moon Sisters, everything, dude. There's so much in this game, bro. And we're here. We're here to where that lore is about to start unraveling. And we're about to fight. We're about to do this thing, man. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. To all the people that have been here for a long time, just like I have, I know you feel like I do. I know you feel like your patience with this game is finally paying off. Your investment is paying off. Paying attention to the story, investing in yourself in the story is paying off. And that's what it feels like. I don't regret for a second any of the time I've spent in this game. Sure, the gameplay, some of the things about the game itself, I may have complaints about, every now and then anyway. But as far as this story goes, dude, I'm here. I'm so here, bro. Yeah. Let's see what happens.